Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to a brand new episode. Today I'm talking about asking for help and really paying attention to what you actually need. I say this because it can be really overwhelming out there. Everybody's got a course, a thing, a webinar, a masterclass, a podcast, and I know, I see the irony, I know I have all those things, I know, and I want to say, from the start, this is not a roundabout way of so buy my thing right now, although you can buy it should you wish to. And it's been really interesting over the years of how I have spent money in my life and my business. And to backtrack a bit, for many years, I never asked for any help. Rarely. I mean, of course, as a kid, I wasn't being no, it's okay. I will go and pick my own fruit and vegetables and I will cook them and I will drive myself there. No, of course, my parents and my family did things for me. I'm talking all age appropriate here. But I definitely wasn't one of those, I can't work it out, I don't know what I'm doing. I was a bit pig-headed, actually. Maybe it's the Scorpion in me, or the Scorpio, should I say, who will sit there and work through it until I've bloody got it. And sometimes that means staying up all night. And it's interesting, when I was a kid, I won the hardest worker in my dance school for 2 years running. And I used to kind of wear that as a secret badge of honor, because even though I'm short and fairly petite, I'm not one of those people who's I just forgot to eat, or I can eat all the things and I never put on weight. No, I am I'm not stocky, but I'm not kind of skin and bones, let's just say that. And so definitely there were moments in the leotard where I wouldn't have the best alignment, but I would work at it and I would make sure that I was up to scratch. And oh my goodness, I look back on that little girl now and be oh mate, you were really trying so hard. But I guess it's part of me. It's part of what I do, and it has really positive effects sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it sends me into a bit of a spin, and sometimes I end up doing things for way longer than I need to. But the reason that I am talking about this in terms of help is because I'm considering where I go next. So I'm just about to come to the end of working with a coach for 12 months. So that contract, I've made my final payment, and that contract will end next week. And it's really interesting having a moment and having a moment quietly, not having a moment on people's sales pages, because it can be really tempting and alluring and engaging to sign up for things that maybe you don't necessarily need. And there are definitely things that has happened for me. But I always like to look at the positive and go, no, but maybe I didn't actually need that thing. But what have I taken away from it? Maybe it was their sales process. Maybe it was how they conducted themselves. Maybe it was their great customer services, or not so much. And it really, I'm always trying to, stay in that positive mindset of what have I learned? What can I take forward? And it's been really interesting throughout the last 10 years, I guess, because I have invested a lot. And this coachy thing of I invested and therefore I'm serious about my life, I need to say this. There have been times when I've invested heavily, where I've felt like I've put the foot on the gas and have gone, right, let's go. I need to do this. Let's pay for this. Let's book that in. Let's do this in 6 months. And then there've been other things where I haven't. So for example, August 2019, I had my daughter, my second child. And I was not in that state of going, oh my goodness, I just need to grow and go to the next level. I was like, I want this baby to come out safely and be well. And I can't wait to meet her. And I'm sure I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but my pregnancy with Luna was not straightforward. I previously had a 9 pound 10. See, it's hard, let alone carrying it. A 9 pound 10 baby. And because of that, and me being 5'2" and petite, I had to have a lot of tests, and they thought that they found lots of, well, not lots, but certainly a few things that were concerning them. So I was in and out of that hospital like anything. So at that stage of being a hot, sweaty, very pregnant ginger person in August 2019, I was not going, right, let's go. But bizarrely, once she was out, poor Lo, like once she was here and in my arms, and I kind of, I'm doing it now, but like I breathed that sigh of relief, like she's here. I suddenly had a sense of, I had space, not only in my body, but in my mind, because clearly throughout that whole of that year of 2019, even though, it wasn't all the time because I was doing lots of really great work stuff and family stuff, and, I had a 3-year-old and life was going on. But there were definitely some really long nights where I was really anxious about things and my mind wouldn't switch off, and I'd have to go down into the living room in the middle of the night and just kind of sit on the sofa and watch random TV. And if you've ever been in that situation too, pregnant and with insomnia, watching TV, there's a lot of random stuff, isn't there? But this brings me back to the help, and I guess what you need at different times. And it's been interesting when I first started like really paying attention to this. So I talked about this in a couple of episodes back, maybe 9 or 10 episodes back, about the growth plan and how I shared what had happened as I grew and the bold things that I did. And as I was prepping for this episode today, I was thinking about when I started drama school. And it was very, let's all sit in a circle and let's just, tell each other we love each other immediately. And it was very intimate right away. Let's just say that. You can interpret that however you like. It was very intimate straight away because there were only 32 of us on the course. So it wasn't that uni environment where you're like, oh, I met this person 4 weeks ago and I've never seen them because they do something else or they have different things going on. Like, no, we knew the other people. I knew those other 31 people very well. So there were 16 boys and 16 girls. And that is what happens as an actor, certainly. You're very intimate very quickly. Not always in that way, although that's another story for another time, kids. But you definitely have to be open. You have to be willing to play the game. And there's definitely been jobs where I've had to film and I've had to kiss somebody like very early on, like, oh, hi, great. Have you travelled far? Did you come on the motorway? Lovely. Okay, we're going to shoot this scene first. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, great. I didn't quite finish the motorway conversation, but here I am having to snog you. But the interesting thing was about the drama school. So on one level, it was all this kind of lovey and getting to know each other and your purpose and why you love acting as much as I do. But what the teachers were doing whilst we were in that love bubble was observing us. And their job, I guess, was how, as coaches, perhaps, but in probably not so boundaried way, they were looking at these 32 people who started, and they knew in 3 years' time they would have to be ready for the industry ahead. And actually, it was much less for me because I left early and I got a job, so I was out of there. I was doing what I needed to do. So they had a responsibility, of course, going, how can we get these people to where we needed to be? And so very quickly after the observation, and you were observed in all kinds of areas, your voice, your movement, your acting ability, the way that you connect with people, your discipline, your professionalism, all kinds of things. And very quickly, they start to bring attention to where they think that you might need help. And this, at first, was absolutely fine, because I definitely had that beginner's mind, because I was a beginner and I had come on the train from up north and I was in this big smoke, and these people were at the top of the game. This is world-class training. And so, of course, I was not going to go, actually, I'm going to do my own thing. Like, it's nice of you to share that, but I'm going to ignore it. No. I was lapping it up, of course. But I'm not going to pretend that sometimes it hurt a little bit, or what you thought was good, suddenly somebody comes in and they say, actually, no, that's not the thing. But what I did notice is not only did they make the observation, which of course could have been shared in a greater, better way, but that's another story. They then put a plan in place. So some of the things that were said to me are bringing attention to my slippery S. So at that point, so this is about 18, and maybe you can hear it sometimes now. Sometimes, yeah, oh gosh, I'm really paranoid about it now. I had a slight, oh no, I'm going to go through the whole episode going, and you're going to listen to it going, oh yeah, oh she has got that. But I had a bit of a slippery S, and I had to really work at making sure my tongue was in the right place in my mouth when I spoke, because otherwise I had a tendency to be a bit lispy. And so they were saying that's really annoying on stage, or especially when we were doing Shakespeare and things like that, you had to speak in very received pronunciation and you had to do all of that. So they brought attention to my slippery S. They also said about my hips. And again, you're going to be like meeting me in person or seeing me on Facebook Live or something and being like, oh yeah, oh, she does do that. Oh, that's weird. But with my hips, now I don't know if it was because I was a dancer for a lot of time, but I really have to be careful I don't get locked in my hips. And when we did movement and all sorts of things, my hips get really tight. And when you are unlocking emotion as an actor, it's really important to get loose in your hips, because your belly, your womb, your gut, all of that, it's really important that you can access it in terms of your voice. So there's a lot of you need to shake your hips like Shakira type situation. So that was another thing that they would say as well. My dance teacher also, and I've always been told this, is I've got quite short arms, and they're expressive, they're enthusiastic, but they're not those arms. You know, some people have Mr. Tickle arms where you see them on pictures on nights out, and their arm is literally round. I've got a friend, Amy, and this is what her arm always looks like. She's got her arm around about 5 people. And so I know that I have to really work my arms and make sure when I dance, not that I'm doing this professionally at the moment, definitely not, but I have to make sure that I work on my shaping. That's a very Shirley Ballas thing from Strictly to say. But my arms was another thing of these things. Another one was something I picked up on, was I had a real fear of falling. So very early on in something like drama school, you have to do a lot of like, okay, you're going to just lean back and this person will catch you. Or you had to do lifts in dance where suddenly they'd be like, right, put your foot there, wang your leg round his shoulder and off we go. And I found that really difficult. I did not want to be lifted and I had a fear around it. And so I guess the thing that I would always do is make sure that if I was working with a partner, that we'd have a conversation first. I wasn't just one of those people who go, yeah, fine, whatever, throw myself into it. The final thing that somebody said to me was about going deeper and being bolder and braver. And when I look back on that, that was the point where there would be some people who would be like, look, if the character requires it, I will take my clothes off and I will lie down naked in the middle of the room right now and you can all watch me. And I've just never been that kind of person. And it's an interesting conversation as an actor of what I would do or what I wouldn't do. But I definitely feel like I would need to have a conversation first. Like, okay, what is this going to be? How are you going to light it? Where's my dressing gown? What would this involve? And so when they would say you need to be bolder and braver, that usually was an indication for me that I didn't feel safe. So I didn't necessarily feel like I was in an environment where I could be that vulnerable, or I hadn't done enough of the plan to make sure that was available to me. So those roundabout examples are things that I had to work on. But this was the beauty of it. So they gave me a plan going forward. So something like fear of falling, they go, do you need an extra mat or do you need something else? The voice coach, like they would have diction lessons that you could go to at lunchtime, all kinds of things. As soon as they said about the hips, like I knew that I had to do a lot more yoga, or I needed to bring it into my movement much more. But that sense of a plan going forward meant that I was actually able to make a lot of really great moves quite quickly. And this is where I'm bringing it into personal branding and your business going forward. It can be really tempting to just make the request, perhaps if that's what it's called, to make the request to become more inspired, or to be amongst other people who get it, or to be in a place of positivity. And I want you to be really specific about what you actually need. So when I was at drama school, the temptation could be, I just want to be in this space with these other talented people. Like, that's enough. And frankly, it isn't. Like, if I wanted to grow and if I wanted to be the best that I wanted to be, I needed to know where my weak spots were. And these are just a few. Of course, there were many, many more. And they all popped up to say hello as and when. But it's kind of like this in business. And this is why I ask you, what help do you actually need? And if you have questions or if you have vague areas, I want you to go deeper and really question what is going on for you. So sometimes people will just say, I just want help meeting my goals, or I just want to make more money in my business. Go deeper. What help do you need? Where is the missing link for you? Where is the gap? If you could build I'm giving you all the coaching questions now, but if you could build your own plan of action, or a pal of yours said, look, I'm really struggling with this, what would you suggest? And I want to invite you to almost step back from it and really question, like, what is going on? What's happening there? And where do you need support to practically move forward? And another thing I want to say is sometimes your needs are going to be very different in different areas, depending on your goals, depending on your season and what's happening and what's going on. So to use another example, when I was pregnant the first time, I loved that little community that I had. We had a little pregnancy yoga gang and we used to see each other all the time. And, when the babies were born, it was very much about, oh my goodness, they did this and did this happen last night and how are you feeling and what's going on and is this normal? But when I had my second, I was too busy trying to fit all the things into the day that I didn't necessarily need that. And the first time I needed loads of information, like I wanted to do all the reading. I think I read about 15 books, which is quite the commitment, let's just say. The second time I didn't read anything, but I did go to the hospital and I got my pregnancy notes, because there's something called a pregnancy reflection, or a birth reflection, I think it's called, where you can go and they can kind of unpick what happened. And I needed to do that for my first pregnancy. I felt like I did anyway. And that was the only sort of prep that I did. Yet that was so helpful, and that was exactly what I needed. So I want you to think about this in terms of your business going forward. What is going on for you? Where do you need the help? Where do you need the support? And I want you to write your wish list. Another question around this could be, and this was given to me, I heard it on a podcast a little while ago and I can't think where I heard it, but it's a good one. What are you tolerating? And when I ask myself this question, I just let myself play the game. And I think that's what I really try to do with these journaling exercises, because I'm so tempted to go the other way of, oh, well, I'm not tolerating anything really. I should be grateful and things are fine and there's far worse people off and all the rest of it. But what I've learned to do is go all in and go, right, okay, what am I tolerating? All right, let's write 50 things down. Off we go. And it's those incremental things you notice. Like there were things where I think it was something around our shoe cupboard. I was like, we've got to move it. Like, it's driving me mad. Or why is this thing in here? Sometimes it's those things in your house that you're tolerating. So even it's when you walk back to your desk, you trip over that same thing again and again, and it affects how you start your workday. So what are you tolerating has been a really powerful question as well. So I hope that's useful for you today. If there is a way that I can help and support you, do get in touch. As I always say, I have no agenda for you. So I'm never going, these are the 3 things that you need because this is my signature offering and I take people like they are robots and we do exactly the same thing. No shade to anybody who does that, but no, this is about you. This is about where you're up to in your personal brand, in your business. Like, where are you going? What's next? And hopefully, the schools are going to open next month, hopefully, and life is hopefully going to start to equal out a little bit and get a bit more normal. So I want you to think about what's next for you, what's next for the second half of this quarter and the next quarter, and what's going on. Let me know. And as always, just email me hello@nikkiraby.com. I will ask you a few questions just to make sure that we're a match, and then I will share my next availability. Is that how you say it? I think it is. All right, great. Have a lovely day. Enjoy. I'm going to work on my hips and my slippery ass, and I will see you soon. Lots of love.